Welcome to the Hobby Jogger Podcast, where elite athletes and ham and eggers lace up their stories. We explore the common ground that running creates, from the world-class runner to the hobbyist hitting the pavement, trail, or treadmill. Expect a blend of inspiration, laughter, and the shared joy that makes every step count. Join us on this journey where every run is a story worth sharing. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Hobby Jogger. I am the host, Casey Koza. I am joined by Mr. Rob Myers again. Rob, how you feeling? Been sick?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm definitely on the mend. Sitting at a hotel, Northern Florida, right off of 75 to do this podcast. So I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. So that's good. You get some sunshine. Very sunshiny here today in Akron, Ohio, which is very rare for March. So I'm going to take it while I got it. Anyway, we have our guest today, who is a two-time U.S. champ, a six-time All-American, professional runner for Merrill, and fresh off of the Ventura Half Marathon, Rachel Tomajczyk. Rachel, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. You're also a coach, so you have no free time. So
That's true.
we appreciate getting some of it here for our show on the interwebs.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Is the coaching new? Because we had Grayson on 2 episodes ago, and I didn't even bring up the Wild Strides coaching.
Yeah.
So is that something new?
That's funny. I was actually in the same house with Grayson while she was filming this episode. Me, her, and our friend Courtney were all hanging out together and doing some stuff for Wild Strides. Wild Strides is new, but I've been coaching for, I think, 8 years now. Okay. So I was with a different online company beforehand. And then I actually coached collegiately in college. And then once I moved out here to Williams, stopped coaching in college and then just online coached from there.
Nice. And I'm sure you learned a lot coaching in college. There's high volume of athletes to see, you see what works, what doesn't work. I feel like that's a big part of coaching. And do you think that's where you gained the most, like obviously you gained the most experience there, but was that kind of what grew your love for coaching, was helping those college athletes? And then now you decided you wanted to move up and coach, I'm guessing some professionals and higher end runners.
Actually, I feel like a lot of the higher end runners I was coaching were in college. It was a D1 program. We made it to nationals one year. So it was like I was coaching some good girls, got some of them close to like 16-minute mark in the 5K, and they raced at regionals and things like that. So that was really amazing. And then now online, I do coach some people that are really fast, but I also coach people that are just beginning or trying to get their Boston qualifier or things like that. So we'll see kind of where Wild Strides takes us. But yeah, I think for now, I kind of enjoy that like college kind of elite level. I think that's really fun to coach, or coaching at the level where people are beginning or just like enjoying going after big goals that they have for themselves. I think at this point in my career, it might be really hard to coach somebody that's also trying to run professionally, just because then I'm coaching my direct competition and that just feels weird to me right now. I think college is definitely the highest that I've coached. But yeah, I think coaching in college gave me even more of a love for coaching, and kind of just went from there, and it's been a lot of fun.
How do you manage your time with so many online athletes? I mean,
Yeah.
A little bit of research that I've done, it looks like you can have anywhere from 25, 30, sometimes a little bit more than that, with so much flexibility. I mean, people always bugging you all the time online, always. I don't know how you do it.
It is a lot of flexibility, which is nice. I think there's definitely busy seasons and seasons that aren't as busy. I think with Wild Strides, I've kind of started picking up a few more trail runners, which is really fun. But I was coaching a lot of marathoners before that. So their season was kind of like on the marathon schedule where they'd have a big spring marathon and a big fall or winter marathon. And since the trail season is kind of mostly summer and then like kind of into the fall, it kind of fit well with my schedule where their big races were more in my off season or where I wasn't like really racing as hard. And then I could focus on coaching, and then my season, I was focusing on my season. But I'm excited to coach more trail runners. So I think it's kind of just a lot of time management, which I think I learned a lot of during college, just being a collegiate athlete. I was doing cross country, then straight into indoor track, and then straight into outdoor track. And you never really have an off season, and you always have a full load of classes. So I don't think I did well my freshman or sophomore year of managing my time, but eventually I got better at it. And yeah, when I got better at managing my time, I got better at running as well. So it makes a huge difference if you're able to kind of organize your time.
And that makes sense that it would be seasonal. Do you have like one runner 365 days they're working with you, or are most of them seasonal?
No, I've had runners that I've coached for years, like 3 or 4 years, something like that. So I do have athletes that I've coached for a long time, and those are really fun because I've seen them go through ups and downs and training and racing and seen big life things happen if they have like kids or go through different seasons of life. So that's really fun. And you get to know them really well too, and just get to know what works for them really well. And it's fun to celebrate those huge achievements. So I think it's really fun when you get an athlete that you can work with for years.
I bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's when a coach can get the most out of an athlete as well. There's no, oh, I'm going to sign up with this coach for 6 months and they're going to get the most out of me. You have to learn the right buttons to push over, a multitude of, in this case, races, games, whatever you're coaching. And
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that you have developed those relationships over time, because it seems like there is some coaching in the trail running world where it's like people, oh, I'm going to sign up for 3 months, and it's not a whole lot you can. I mean, you can correct some things in 3 months, but you're not going to get the same kind of gain, I don't think, as you would over like a 3-year period with a coach like yourself, Rachel.
Yeah, and I think just trust builds over time too. So athletes are willing to maybe share a little bit more, or they aren't like afraid to message you or set up a phone call if something's like not going well or they want to talk something through. I think some athletes, when they first sign up, are a little bit scared. They're like, oh, if like something's hurting and I don't do the workout, is she going to be like mad or upset? And I'm like not like that at all. Like, I want to know if you had a great workout, if you had a bad workout, I'm here for you. And I want to just like dream with you and help you achieve whatever your goals are. But I see it more as that we're on a team together. And I think that kind of vibe and that mindset builds with athletes once I've been coaching them for a while. So yeah, I think that's fun too. Just like seeing us work together as a team.
So kind of get back to the Wild Strides coaching. How did you get involved with Wild Strides coaching? I know you're obviously probably friends with Grayson. You
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
are trail runners together and compete on the same, circuits, I guess. So know each other
Yeah.
from that. But how did this come about, this partnership?
Yeah, well, it's actually a cool story. So back in, I think it was 2018, 2019, all three of us moved to Flagstaff. So I was living in South Carolina, and I was on a pro team called Furman Elite, which is no longer a pro team, but the Furman college team is a really amazing program. And yeah, Coach Gary and Rita do a really great job with those college kids. But yeah, I was there, and then I decided to move to Flagstaff and be coached by Ryan Hall. And Grayson was moving to Flag kind of at the same time to be on NAZ. And then Courtney was moving to Flag. She had just finished college at Kansas, and then was going to get her master's at NAU and also train and race and run professionally. So yeah, we were all kind of in Flagstaff at the same time. We had all steepled in college. So we kind of like cross paths a little bit. Courtney, I feel like, is really good with just building community. So she had a bunch of runners over to her house, and we would have like game nights and like do dinners together and stuff like that. So that's kind of where we all like met up and we would go on runs together. So all of us started off, and when we were in Flagstaff, we were on the roads and racing like only on the road and track. And then kind of slowly, one by one, we all like discovered the trails, and Grayson discovered them first, was amazing at them, moved away from Flagstaff. Then I moved away from Flagstaff. Courtney moved away. Courtney was the next to find the trails. She loved them. And then I found them last. And yeah, but I think the trails kind of like rekindled our friendship, or maybe not rekindled it, but like kept us closer because we were on teams together. We would meet up. We had the same kind of love for the trails and for adventure and exploring, but also for running at a higher level and stuff. So I think that just kept us as really good friends. And then Grayson had started her company with the journals and the planners, and she had been doing that for a few years. And she and Courtney, I think, were hanging out one weekend, and we're kind of like, hey, what if we did a coaching company out of kind of Grayson's planner company that had already started? And we all thought that it was a really great idea. Courtney and I had been coaching at the same company previously together, so we kind of were on the same track of coaching, or had been for the past few years, and we were ready to do something different and kind of create something on our own. So yeah, it's been a really fun journey, but yeah, that's kind of how it all started.
Good to hear stories like that where friends kind of get together, create something brand new out of nothing. I use Grayson's Wild Strides paper company planner now. Yeah, I write everything down, everything for work. I have notebooks. They'll ask me random questions at work all the time, and I'll be like, "Oh, that pop has this gear." Like, how do you know that? Because we had a meeting about it 2 years ago, and I wrote it down. It's right here. Like, you guys don't do that? No, we don't.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so I'm a big fan of the Wild Strides paper company, and good to hear that story. I always like good stories like that where friends come together and do something, especially around coaching. I think my mindset on coaching has changed a lot, especially after a recent conversation with an old coach of mine, because it's not, you can coach yourself and that's great in running and you can get very far, but you need someone to point out what you're missing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very difficult. It's impossible for me to do. It's very difficult for people to do. Like if I write a paper for work or whatever, I make a ton of errors that I don't see because, oh, that's right. I would catch somebody else's, but you know what I mean? It's hard to be critical of your own work sometimes, I think. So
yeah.
I have taken a flip-flop, Rob, on coaching. I'm back to being pro coach, I think.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. Definitely need it. I don't know why I haven't pulled the trigger yet, but it's something I need to do for sure.
Yeah.
Doing it myself isn't working.
Yeah. I think some of it is kind of what you're talking about, where you need somebody to point out your flaws, but then another part of it could just be like not having to think about what's on your schedule and just knowing that somebody's thinking of your plan for you. I know a lot of athletes that I coach just appreciate that, and then kind of appreciate the accountability and having somebody to bounce questions off of too. So yeah, I think there's lots of benefits for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you coached yourself?
Yeah, it's funny. So now that we've said everything about how you need somebody to point out your flaws, I coach myself, actually. But I agree where I feel like I do need somebody that's there for me to kind of like bounce ideas off and stuff. So I go to my husband a lot. He understands running pretty well and just like working out in general. So yeah, I think he's always somebody that I'll go to if I am like, what do you think about this race plan? Or like, how should I kind of like structure workouts around this time or something like that? Like he can help me kind of see those things. And also similarly point out flaws, or if not flaws, things like you might need to touch on some more speed because that's not your strong suit right now or something like that. So he's really helpful with that for sure.
Hey folks, if you're loving the stories, tips, and laughs we're dishing out, make sure you don't miss an episode. Hit that subscribe button so you're the first to know when a new episode drops. And hey, if you've got a second, why not leave us a review? Your feedback helps us improve and keeps this running community growing. lace up, hit subscribe, and let's get back into the show. It's a big benefit to have in any sport, whether it's running, football, soccer, basketball, lacrosse, all the sports. It's always beneficial to have a coach, someone kind of overseeing, or at least for you, Rachel, someone to bounce ideas off of when maybe you hit a little slump or something, and it's hard to, if you think you're doing everything right, it's hard to gauge that from introspectively. So
yeah, definitely.
Not easy. Now, you just came off of the Ventura Half Marathon where you won, correct? First time.
Yeah.
First time running roads in a bit.
Yeah, it was. It had been a while. I think like 3 or 4 years since I had been on the road. So it was fun to get back out there again.
Looking forward, are we building off of this for roads, or are we going back to trails? What are we?
Yeah, good question. I'm planning on sticking to the trails. I really like the trails. And I think I wanted to do this half because I felt like I had done 2 other halves previously, and they just did not go well. And it was when I was coaching in college, which, like I said, coaching in college was really, really fun, but it's also really heavy work weeks. And I was working like nonstop and just didn't have a ton of time to like recover properly and stuff. So I think, yeah, racing was just really hard when I was coaching in college. But anyway, I think I kind of wanted to do a half because I really thought that I could run faster than what I had run previously. And so I kind of did it partially because I just wanted to prove it to myself that I could do it. But then I think there's also a huge benefit to having speed on the trails and keeping that in there, especially in the races that I'm doing that are more the sub ultra distances. I think that it's really important to still keep some speed.
Yeah, those we talked about with Grayson, but I truly think that is the most exciting form of trail running is the sub ultra mountain. There's a lot that can happen. Like I was talking to a friend about it. It's like kind of like, you watch NASCAR for the blow ups, like stuff happens in these races. There's lead changes, there's blow ups, there's crashes. I go down all the time, not racing anyone. That's so exciting to me. Not that the ultra stuff isn't cool, like 100-mile race where you watch the first quarter, you go to bed, you wake up and then watch like the last half. Like that's good. That's cool. I like it. I enjoy it, but I think it's so exciting, and I'm going to look forward to now your year
Thanks.
ahead of what you have going on in the short trail. What races do you have planned?
Yeah, I'm going to go over to China at the end of April for the first Golden Trail Series race. So that'll be fun. I'm planning on really focusing this year on the Golden Trail Series. Like the past couple of years, I've like made some strides and kind of like moved up in that series. And so I want to keep seeing what I can do in it. And they're really fun races and kind of like all over the world. So you get to explore and you get really amazing competition too. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on for a lot of this year. I'm going to do that Golden Trail Series race, the one at Broken Arrow, the one in Mexico, and then there's one over in Austria and Series and all. And then the final is in October. So that's kind of the main thing that I want to focus on. I am going to do Sunapee and see if I can make the classic team for Worlds. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's getting so competitive. So I think like Golden Trail Series is definitely my first kind of big goal. And then if I make a team, then I'll kind of readjust or see from there what I want to do. But I kind of like Golden Trail Series because I think there's so many good Americans, and I think it's kind of nice that it's not only like 4 people that can represent the US. It's just like whoever is the best in the world makes the finals at Golden Trail Series instead of Worlds, where it's like, well, you have a few representatives from each country, but if the US is really good, then they can only bring a few people, even if the rest of the US would be able to compete at the world level, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. And I'm slightly familiar with the Golden Trail Series, but how does it work exactly? Because it shows up on my YouTube feed and I watch it because it's cool and I see the highlights and they're awesome, but I'm not I'm not 100% sure how it works.
Yeah, so there's 8 regular season races. Those are all kind of like where you start to accumulate points. And this year, I believe they're taking your score from your top 3 races. So you get points for like, I think it's 1 through maybe it's like 50 or 60 get points. And if you are in the top 30 after all of those 8 regular season races, then you make the Golden Trail Series final. And then there's a prologue for that, which is a really short, kind of classic mountain type of format race where you're going up and down and it's maybe like 30 or 45 minutes. And then 2 days later, you have a rest day in between. And then the next day, you race at the final, which is like 15 to 17 miles normally and pretty steep and techy and stuff like that. So it's a different course every year for the final, or it has been for the past few years. But yeah, after that, all of your points from the regular season and the final are added up and they have like a final standing.
Is there any in America? Do we host any?
Yes, Broken Arrow this year is in America, and last year Headlands and Mammoth Trail Fest were both in the U.S. And then this year another like North America race is in Mexico. So not in the U.S., but there's one in Mexico this year, which is fun.
Nice. That's awesome. In the finals are Sierras and all.
That's the last regular season race, but the final is in October. I don't think they've announced yet where the final is going to be at.
I always enjoy watching the highlights. They do a great job of production.
Yeah, they do an amazing job, which is kind of why I like to be part of it, because I think that they put so much into it. Like you can tell they really, really care about the athletes and making it like a really good race, like really fun and also just like well televised and things like that. So it feels like a professional race, which I think is really cool.
So you have quite the schedule, Rachel. You got the coaching, you got this mammoth schedule. I mean, what I think is because I generally try and only run 2 races a year, so that's huge for me. Yeah, but what does your recovery look like for these? I mean, that's a lot of miles, a lot of tough races. What you clearly have something you're doing really well when it comes to recovery to be able to handle.
Oh,
Well, is there any secrets that you have, or just do the basics and get enough sleep?
my secret, honestly, is taking rest days. I didn't do this a lot at first, but I've learned kind of over the years, like it's okay to take rest days. Like after big races, like some of the Golden Trail Series races, those are 2.5 or 3 hours long for races, and they're pretty intense. So I'll take off like 2 or 3 days after a race and just not even run at all. And that's worked well for me. I think last year, Headlands and Mammoth Trail Fest were just a week apart, maybe even only 6 days apart. And I just like took off a few days to make sure that I was really well rested before I raced again. And yeah, so that's worked really well. So I think this year I'm kind of breaking up my season into 3 parts and trying to take rest after each of the parts. So Ventura was like the first part of it. I took a rest week after that. I'll like start training and then race all up until Mexico. And after that race, I think I'll take another break and then kind of rebuild for the final part of the season. But I think that's something that I didn't do when I was first into trails. And it's kind of hard as a pro, I think, because there's races that you can race like all year. In high school or college, you have the schedule where it's like cross country season, then you take a break, then you have track season, then you take a break. And I feel like you don't have that unless you really are intentional about building in that rest and building seasons for yourself. So yeah, that's kind of like my secret for now. But yeah, we'll see how this season goes.
I know, Rob, you're a fan of rest days.
Yeah, I probably take too many of them, to be honest.
Yeah, you gotta have the balance of the rest days. But I bought a bike, David, our producer. So we, last fall, we went out and rode a couple Sundays for 3 or 4 hours, just rode around the valley, Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and That seems like a rest day for me. Active rest day, I guess. And
Yeah. And that's the thing. A lot of times, like on rest days, I'll like get out and go for a walk or go for a hike or something like that. Sometimes I'm so tired that I just don't really want to do much at all, so I won't. But yeah, if I want to get out and hike or bike or something like that, then I will. But yeah, I think I took like a couple of days off between Headlands and Mammoth last year, and yeah, I'm not afraid to take rest after those bigger races.
so in the races, and I know you're sponsored by Morton, correct?
Yeah, by Morton for all of the like nutrition side. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I really like Morton.
Yeah.
They're what do you call it, like a pre-race drink, like mix.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not my favorite tasting thing in the world, but I mean, that's not what it's not there to taste good. You're not having a beer at the finish line, Rob. It's,
Yeah,
there to serve a
definitely.
purpose. Do you think that when you properly fuel, and we've heard people talk about this, but that helps you with your recovery?
Yeah.
How do you fuel these races and these efforts, if you don't mind me asking? Because that's something I'm trying to get better at as a runner, to where I'm not like, I feel like if I don't, I feel like hungover and I didn't even drink. What is your protocol? I need to start asking this more when I didn't ask Grayson, but
Yeah.
I made a note to start asking this more when I get someone like you on, Rachel.
Nice. Yeah. No, I think that fueling is so important. And I didn't I wasn't as like in tune with it until probably last year, but I do definitely notice like huge recovery benefits and just more energy the next day when I fuel properly. So I try to eat like 3 times an hour. So every 20 minutes, I'm taking in something. And usually that's a gel, but I try to get in like 75 to 80 grams of carbs per hour. So that's about 300 calories an hour. And yeah, just like every 20 minutes, I'm taking something. I really like the Morton 320 drink mix because it's hydration along with the nutrition. And that helps a lot in the summers when it's hot, so that I don't even have to think that much about hydrating because I'm drinking all of my calories anyway. So if it's really hot, then I'll bring water along with me too, or electrolytes. But yeah, every hour with a 320 drink mix, if I get that bottle down, that's like perfect for me.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's become popular. Well, I actually started paying attention to this in like over the last year, but I think the drink mix has become a popular thing. I know when I ran my first 50K, I just had like a bottle of water and like
Yeah.
a pepperoni stick, and
Oh, that's tough.
it went exactly how you thought it would, Rob. There
Oh
was
no.
Sounds pretty tasty though, if I'm
Yeah,
being
the
honest.
pepperoni stick was tasty. Didn't have many carbs in it though. I found out that's important to running.
Did you get anything at the aid stations?
Yeah, I finally got really, really hungry,
Yeah.
and I stopped at an aid station and ate like, I want to say 10 Oreos.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
You would think that would help, but then that made me even like worse because then I was just full and I don't really eat like sugary stuff ever.
Yeah.
So it was not good. Yeah,
Oh no.
it was not a good day out in the park.
Yeah, that is tough. I feel like once you're hungry, it's too late. That's like what I tell all my athletes. Like, because some of them are like, well, I started feeling hungry around like 90 minutes. So then I started eating, and I'm like, that's too late to like start and a race because you're already like way behind.
If you get that makes sense. I'm gonna write that down. Don't get
Yeah.
hungry because it's probably already over for you if
Yeah, yeah, I get ahead of it early on, which is why I think that's why I like starting so early because I think later into the race, you're exhausted, whether it's in an ultra or like a really fast race that's a couple hours long. I think like there's more of a chance that your stomach isn't going to be feeling great at that point. So I think you might not be able to get as much down at the end of the race. But if you kind of started early in the race, then that's all like stored up as opposed to getting to the end of the race, feeling like you need fuel, but not being able to really take it in.
yeah. See, this is all making sense now, Rob. When we need to hear it from an authority figure is the problem.
Crystal clear.
Yeah.
I will also say, as far as recovery, I have started taking ketones sometimes on hard workout days or race days. And I do think that those work. I was like very, very skeptical of them when they first came out. And I was like, I don't know if these work at all. But yeah, the ketone IQ, I take that sometimes after a race or a hard workout, and I feel like it's worked for me. So they're expensive. So I always tell athletes, like, try it if you want to in a workout before you do it in a race. And if it helps you, then that's awesome. If it doesn't, don't worry about it.
I got 2 free boxes of Ketone IQ.
Yeah.
I was the UTMB free trail fantasy champion. I don't know.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Congrats.
2 years ago. Now this year I didn't do any good. So they sent me 2 boxes, and I hadn't used it for 2 years. They sat on top. I'm looking at it right now. They sat on top of my refrigerator. Never touched them. A couple weeks ago, I did 2 workouts. I did one in the morning, and I took one, and I did feel noticeably like better in the afternoon. So
yeah.
I was skeptical. I was like, doesn't make sense, but also a placebo effect, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not smart enough to figure out, the science behind it or anything. So
yeah,
I still a little bit skeptical, but I have used it, Rob. Just I don't know if I'd recommend buying it yet, but more study for myself is needed over the next few weeks, and I'll make a.
At least you finally tried it. I'm proud of you for that.
Yeah. Yes, I did. It sat there for 2 years.
Well, and that's the thing. I feel like every athlete is so different. So if somebody says something works for them, then try it. And if it works for you, that's awesome. And if it doesn't, then that's okay too. But at least you've tried it. And yeah, I think everyone's so different. So you just have to kind of like run experiments on yourself and figure out what works. But that's another thing I tell athletes I coach, is to do all the experiments in training and not in racing. So don't try something new on racing.
Oh, come on, coach. We're gonna fix this here right at the 15K mark. We're gonna try this new thing and fix it right there.
Yeah, exactly. Right during the race.
Now that kind of leads into which Morton, they have a new product, the bicarb, which Olympic athletes, especially cyclists, have been using it for decades.
Yeah.
Do you use the bicarb?
I've used it some in training. I think I need to experiment and use it a little bit more in training before I really am confident using it in racing. But I'm hoping to, for this year, be able to use it a little bit more in racing.
Yeah, especially I get it. It definitely has a use, definitely effective, but you do run the risk, if it would, just like anything else, any other product that you put into your body, into your stomach, there is a chance that it may or may not agree with you. But yeah, the bicarb thing, I was kind of surprised to see it. Not surprised that short distance trail runners are using it though, because that's kind of what the cyclists, like in the velodrome. You ever seen them in the velodrome?
Yeah.
Pretty cool sport.
Oh yeah.
Those guys were on it. I know, not on it. Those guys were using it for decades. So
were they using like bicarb, or were they using the baking soda?
Oh, they were going just straight baking soda and electrolytes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. They were, I had a friend who was I've mentioned a few times on the show, but an Olympian velodrome cyclist. And yeah, I had ran that by him. He's like, oh yeah, we used that 25 years ago when I was racing at National. So I was like,
yeah, it's not new, I guess, for them. But
yeah,
I think the bicarb helps, because I've heard that I've never tried just straight baking soda, but I've heard that's pretty hard on your stomach. And maybe it's easier if you're cycling, because it's not an impact sport really. So maybe their stomach is fine kind of doing whatever. But yeah, I think the bicarb makes it a little bit easier on your stomach. You can like train your gut also to be able to handle things that you can't handle at first. So I think that's another reason why it's so important to fuel while you're training and doing workouts too, because not only will you recover faster, but it's just a chance for your body to like get used to taking in the fuel that you're going to be using in racing too.
Yeah, baking soda. That sounds tough. I think that would bother my stomach even if I was sitting on the couch, let alone working out.
Yeah.
It's super effective. Like, I've known about it for a very long time. A friend of mine's daughter, I don't want to say experimented on her, but she was having a tough time. She was a high school swimmer. She's having a tough time with cramps.
Okay.
Baking soda is also bicarb, also very good if you have cramps. So I was like, give her a tablespoon of baking soda per Gatorade 45 minutes before she races. They tried it, it worked. Her times started to drop, mostly because she wasn't cramping and could train properly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Definitely effective if you get side stitches, cramps, that sort of thing. It has uses. So it's always interesting to hear, perspective of someone like you, Rachel, on it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah, Rob, we're gonna bicarb you up out of canyons.
I definitely want to try it.
Yeah, get old Arm and Hammer out.
Yeah, I get a lot of cramps, especially my calves.
Oh, that's kind of what you deal with in racing is cramping. Yeah.
Oh, constantly, especially my calves until like mile 7, and eventually it goes away.
Oh, so yours is at the start of the race and then
Oh yeah,
it's better. Okay. Yeah.
That's just us being old, Rob.
it is. It is. No, you're 100% right. So when I first started running long distances on the trail, it would be, like mile 2, mile 3, gone. Now it's like mile 7 before it goes away, sometimes even longer than that.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm anti warming up, but like in a 50K, I don't feel good. Like till mile 3, I'm like, oh, this is just the worst day of my life I'm having right now, and I can barely. And then mile 4, I'm like, oh, this is great. Like we feel really good today, actually. Hold on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're just anti-warming up before the race starts.
I've been anti warming up my entire career of every sport I've ever played, Rachel.
Okay.
Yeah. Much to the chagrin of a lot of my coaches over the years, I was like, why am I going to get tired? Like, this is just kind of go through the motions, try not to get yelled at in the pregame. Like, guys are out there in sweatsuits doing sprints. I'm just like, yeah, it's just going to stand
Until
over.
you tear something, and then you'll be the king of warm-up.
Fortunately, I escaped, or I probably shouldn't have, with my, eating habits and drinking habits and warm-up habits. I was very fortunate to escape. Yeah. So I am not coaching anyone.
Well, I would say you're just using the first mile or 3 in a race to warm up.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. Just, hey, I'll go out nice and easy and warm up here a little bit, and then I like pass people late after I'm well warmed up at mile 14, Rob.
There you go. Yeah.
Good way to look at things. The first 7 miles for me, I'm just warming up.
Yeah, it's just a warm up.
Yeah, just a little warm up. That's all. So another thing, I have them here. Well, they're not here. I have the box here though.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got a pair of the Merrell Skyfire 2s.
Oh, those are my fave.
Are they? I can see why. I was looking for a rock shoe. I'm originally from southwestern Pennsylvania. I go back there and run quite a bit. I didn't really like the old shoe I had that was for my rock shoe, but this shoe is excellent. This is like,
Yeah.
And I got it on sale, which was even better. Yeah. So you're a fan of the Skyfire too?
Yeah. Is it the Matrix or is it the first version of the Skyfire 2? Or do you know?
Yeah. Maybe the box says it's orange. I think it's the Matrix. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. They changed the upper on the Matrix, and I really like the new upper on the Skyfire 2 Matrix. But yeah, it's a great shoe. I love it for short races because it's really light and fast, and you can get pretty precise with where your foot lands. So yeah, if you're in really techie stuff, it's great for that.
Phenomenal. I wanted just a really light shoe. I wanted a rock plate because the last shoe didn't have a rock plate, and my foot was like mashed potatoes after 15 miles of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, this one has a good rock plate for sure.
Maybe I thought about this today when I was running. Is Merrell, because I know super shoes are in.
Mm-hmm.
Are they developing a super shoe? Can you say?
That one, the Skyfire 2, I think is like the closest to a super shoe that Merrell has. That one has like a BZM8 plate in it. So it's technically like a plated shoe. And they have like kind of thrown around, like I've gotten some prototypes that they've made of like carbon fiber stuff and things like that. But every time I've gone in a carbon fiber shoe on the trails, I have not liked it at all. Like, I think it just bounces your foot too much. So for me, if I get on a rock and land with my foot kind of sideways, it like twists my ankle for me. So then I'm just like twisting my ankle all over the trail, which is not great. But these shoes, I think, like have a little bit of bounce to them, but not so much that you like bounce off of rocks weird and stuff. So yeah, this is kind of their like closest thing to a super shoe. But for now, I don't love racing in carbon fiber on the trails.
Yeah, I can understand why. Like this, it's really, and I'm saying this because I purchased it with my own money, not given to me. It is like the perfect, especially for a hobby jogger, rock shoe where it's just you're going from rock to rock. Laurel Highlands, Rob, you know. But this outsole, when I see you next, I'll bring it. But the outsole, it looked first, I was like, that's a little, I don't know, that's weird. But then it made really good sense because it's like just the pressure points have the outsole and the Vibram grip. And there's exposed midsole, but you have the rock plate to protect your foot. So they really did. I'm super impressed. We don't talk about shoes very often here, do we, Rob? Every now and then, I guess.
Yeah, we should talk about it more.
Yeah, we should talk about it more. It's a good subject. People like the shoe talk.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I just would have, if I didn't like the shoe, I just wouldn't have brought it up. But it's like the perfectly designed mountain trail shoe, I think, that I've had on. And I've tried quite a few different shoes.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, I think all the athletes that are running for Merrill right now have really loved the Skyfire too, especially in the short stuff. So yeah, you might need a little bit more cushion if you're doing something longer, but I raced a 50K in them and I was fine. I think like kind of up to that 50K, you might be okay. If you're out there for a really long time, then the Long Sky 2 is another one that's a really good racing shoe. And it's like not quite as light as the Skyfire 2, but there's like a little bit more cushion in it so that you can keep it on for a little bit longer.
Write that down here. Yeah, I would run 50K in this, no problem. Because it protects your foot. It's weird. Like the last pair that I had for this purpose, I hated it in the 50K because my foot was just like destroyed after just pointy rocks and stuff like that. But I would run a 50K in this. But yeah, maybe a little bit more cushion for 100K. But my feet are going to hurt anyway after 50K and 100K, so it doesn't.
True. Yeah. I think if you want a shoe with like a higher stack height or something, then this one has a pretty low stack height. So that's why for like the longer races, maybe you'd want something a little bit more. But yeah, it's great. I race like pretty much every race in these shoes.
Oh, nice. I kind of figured that was, after I wore it today, that was Merrell's top like trail race shoe because it seemed built the way. You have to grab a pair, Rob. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I need a new pair. I was talking about that yesterday.
Yeah.
Especially for that crazy race you're doing down there in Tennessee, whatever the golf.
Yeah.
What is that called?
It's called Lots of Rocks Race.
Lots of Rocks Race. Yes.
Sounds perfect for the Skyfire too.
Yeah.
So Rachel, I was going through your race resume and one race really stood out to me. The Narnar Mount Hood in Oregon.
Yeah. That was my first trail race. Yeah.
Can you tell me about that race? And what I found online, it looks like it was pretty intense.
Yeah, it was a really good first trail race because the downhill was on this like smooth, like single track bike, like mountain biking trail. So I think it was perfect for me because it wasn't like super, super techy, but it was still just like a fun trail race. And it was really beautiful. Like you could see Mount Hood while you were racing and stuff. So yeah, it was a really fun race.
Yeah, it looked really cool. Like I said, it just stood out to me when I was going through all of your races.
Yeah, that one was a really fun one for sure. Yeah, good intro to the trails.
Beautiful area out there.
Yeah, it's so pretty. Yeah, Grayson and I and Courtney, actually, we all raced there. And yeah, it was really fun. We went out for a run the day before and kind of got to explore some of the trails, which that's the thing that I love about trails that is different than the track and the roads, is that you can actually explore and kind of get out. And I feel like when you're on the roads and track, you're kind of like, okay, I just need to like go to the city and then I'm going to sit in the hotel for a while and just like wait to race. And I think in trails, it's kind of fun because you are in these like really cool kind of remote mountain towns and you get to see some really pretty things and yeah, explore while you're out on the course and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's our biggest attraction to trail racing. We went out to Gorge in that area and got
Yeah.
to see some really cool stuff and explore new areas that I know I never would have went out there. Maybe to Mount Hood for something, but never to that part of the country. And you certainly, get around the world as your Instagram handle suggests.
Yeah.
Now, there was an argument in our house over this. I said that you must be a Jimmy Eat World fan. And my girlfriend's like, no, she probably just runs around the world, like goes to different places, and that's what it means. So which is it, Rachel? Is Jimmy Eat World inspire the name, or is it just because you do actually run around the world?
No, it's just because I run around the world. But yeah, I'm sorry.
Rachel, you just crushed him. You just crushed Casey. He was
Normal.
hoping.
It's normal. I'm 0 for like 600, so it's okay.
Dang.
It's what I'm used to.
Yeah, yeah, that I came up with that handle, I think, like in college, like right when I was starting to run professionally, and it's just stuck. So,
I was pretty sure. I was confident on this one, Rob.
dang,
Rach Runs World has nothing to do with Jimmy Eat World.
it does not. Yeah, I didn't even make that connection until now, but maybe I should have.
Oh, I'm glad I came up with it. Yeah, Rob, another theory blown to bits on the show.
It happens a lot. We get used to it.
What other theories have you had?
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh no, here we go.
Soccer players would generally translate to be very good trail runners was one that was blown to bits.
Really? Okay, I'm surprised by that actually too.
It's made a comeback recently though, Rob, Rachel. It's Matt Trappy last episode gave me some very good pro runners, and obviously Grayson was on the show. She was a former footballer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's starting to make a comeback in my mind, Rob.
I think anyone, like, you have to be athletic to be on the trails, at least if you're doing really techie races and stuff. If I know that there's someone that has steepled in the past and they're thinking of going over to the trails, then I'm like, oh yeah, they'll be good on the trails. They'll be fine.
And it does. It's like the trail running, take nothing away from the people on the roads. That's not what I'm.
No, not at all. Yeah, it's impressive. Both are impressive, I think. Yeah.
Both have their own thing, but the athleticism required to run some of the things that I've seen, especially like the Golden Trail series, when I watch you bomb down hills and stuff, it's just a little bit different than, knocking out the ungodly pace is, the half marathon times that you all run. So yeah, just different things. That's all.
It's different things, and some things translate to other things too. Like I know a lot of trail runners who are primarily on the trail and then do a half marathon and crush it. And then I know some people that have been on the track primarily and have done really good halves, and then they come over to trails and they do really well too. Like Lauren Gregory never steepled or anything like that, but she's an amazing track runner and like had an outstanding season last year in the trails and has made world teams and stuff. So yeah, she's amazing on the roads, but then also can stand up with everyone on the trails too. So, but yeah, I think they're different disciplines and both are impressive. Just because you're a fast road runner doesn't necessarily mean that you would be good on the trails. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're really, really good, but yeah.
Yeah. I've seen some that have come over and run races. It's not the same. They just, whatever it is. And
yeah,
tough, different sport, built on the same concept of running, but just a little bit different sport. So
I think the trails are fun because they can blend a lot of athletes that are really good at other sports together. Like there's so many good skiers that come over, or people that are really into mountain biking that come over to trails and just crush it in the trails. And then there's some people from the roads and the track that come over and crush the trail. So it's fun to see like what differences everybody has. Like some people are really good at the uphill. Some people are really good at downhill. Some people ski also. Some people bike a ton. But it's just fun to see so many different talents like come mesh together into one sport.
You mentioned uphills and downhills. Do you prefer the uphill or the downhill?
That's a good question. I don't know now. Like, I think when I was first running trails, I was really scared of the downhills, but I think I kind of just like was pretty good at them. I think like uphills, I need to work on a little bit more, but sometimes I'm good at racing them. I don't know. So I think right now they're kind of equal, but I love being able to like go really fast on a downhill and just like bomb a downhill. I think that's like super fun. The really, really techie stuff I still need to work on. Like some of the Golden Trail Series races are just like super techie, and that's not like quite as fun for me. I think like if there are a few rocks and stuff, then that's fun. But when it gets to be like really, really techie where you're almost not able to run, I don't think that's as fun. I don't know if I'd ever want to try like sky running, just because I feel like it's so techie that I'm not even running anymore. So yeah.
I'm a downhill specialist. How about you, Rob?
Are you? Okay.
I like gravity assisting me.
Yeah, gravity's fun as long as my knees don't hurt, which typically they do at that point, or at least towards the end of the race. But yeah, gravity's a good thing.
To just blow the quads apart and then can't figure out what happened. You walked every hill and bombed every downhill. That's what happened. So
yeah,
that's awesome. But Rachel, we thank you so much for your time here. It was awesome to talk to you. Very nice to meet you. Very disappointed that your name was not inspired by Jimmy Eats World, but
sorry.
all our dreams can't come true at once.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on too. It's been super fun.
So Rachel, where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, Rach Runs World is my Instagram handle, so I'm on that. I haven't quite joined the TikTok stuff yet, but I don't know, maybe someday.
Thank you so much again, and I look forward to a lot of my miles in the Skyfire too. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Hobby Jock. We hope you've enjoyed our conversation today. And if you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support keeps us moving forward. Until next time, keep those feet moving and enjoy the miles.